Thank you for joining with me as we continue our exploration of A Course in Miracles. Today, I'm making this video from my friend's place in Sydney. So in today's video, we will be continuing with our reading of the text. We are in chapter 19. We will be exploring the fourth obstacle to peace. We will be practicing lesson 31 together, and then we'll look at a principle of miracles. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now I'm going to click on Read A Course in Miracles, clicking on the text. In the contents, we're scrolling down to chapter 19, The Attainment of Peace. We're in section 4, The Obstacles to Peace. And we are at letter D, the fourth obstacle, the fear of God. Let's begin. D, the fourth obstacle, the fear of God. Paragraph 1. What would you see without the fear of death? What would you feel and think if death held no attraction for you? Very simply, you would remember your Father, the creator of life, the source of everything that lives, the Father of the universe and of the universe of universes, and of everything that lies, even beyond them, would you remember. And as this memory rises in your mind, peace must still surmount a final obstacle, after which is salvation completed, and the Son of God entirely restored to sanity. For here your world does end. So how generous was that we got a full description of God, of the Creator. The creator of life, the source of everything that lives, the Father of the universe, and of the universe of universes, and of everything that lies even beyond them. This is God. This is the Creator. I'm going to go back to share to look at paragraph 2. The fourth obstacle to be surmounted hangs like a heavy veil before the face of Christ. Yet as his face rises beyond it, shining with joy because he is in his Father's love, peace will lightly brush the veil aside and run to meet him and to join with him at last. For this dark veil, which seems to make the face of Christ himself like to a leper's, and the bright rays of his Father's love that light his face with glory appear as streams of blood, fades in the blazing light beyond it when the fear of death is gone. Let's continue for paragraph 3. This is the darkest veil, upheld by the belief in death and protected by its attraction. The dedication to death and to its sovereignty is but the solemn vow, the promise made in secret to the ego, never to lift this veil, not to approach it, nor even to suspect that it is there. This is the secret bargain made with the ego to keep what lies beyond the veil forever blotted out and unremembered. Here is your promise never to allow union to call you out of separation. The great amnesia in which the memory of God seems quite forgotten, the cleavage of yourself from you, the fear of God, the final step in your disassociation. So here we get to explore our own God concept. So in the first paragraph, we're given a description of what God is. And so we can, for now, just rest there, that the God that we're being presented or being described as is the Creator, and the Creator of vast, amazing, unknowable things from our level of consciousness and our level of mind, which is so limited. The second paragraph is helping us see or to validate this amnesia, that we have. That amnesia is reflected in other anecdotes and stories that speak of the drinking from the lake or the river of forgetfulness before we came down here. So that's mirroring that, isn't it? And then we're being presented with the final obstacle to peace, which is the fear of God himself, the fear of God. And where my mind is going with that is that the Old Testament really reflects that back to us or reinforces that through the God concept that's being presented in those stories, which is of an angry God, a jealous God, a vengeful God. In my Sunday services, I've done an exploration of that, so I'm not going to do that here. We're just going to stick with what the Course is telling us. However, if you want to nurture your own personal God concept, which is entirely yours, I would offer as a supplement to A Course in Miracles, the New Testament, which is quite persistent and consistent in describing God, the Father, as a merciful God and as a loving God. All right, so let's continue for paragraph 4. See how the belief in death would seem to save you. For if this were gone, what could you fear but life? It is the attraction of death that makes life seem to be ugly, cruel, and tyrannical. You're no more afraid of death than of the ego. These are your chosen friends. For in your secret alliance with them, you have agreed never to let the fear of God be lifted so you could look upon the face of Christ and join him in his Father. Let's continue for paragraph 5. Every obstacle that peace must flow across is surmounted in just the same way. The fear that raised it yields to the love beyond, and so the fear is gone. And so it is with this. The desire to get rid of peace and drive the Holy Spirit from you fades in the presence of the quiet recognition that you love him. The exaltation of the body is given up in favor of the spirit, which you love as you could never love the body. And the appeal of death is lost forever as love's attraction stirs and calls to you. From beyond each of the obstacles to love, love itself has called, and each has been surmounted by the power of the attraction of what lies beyond. Your wanting fear seemed to be holding them in place. Yet when you heard the voice of love beyond them, you answered, and they disappeared. So we have fear because we drank from the river of forgetfulness. We have forgotten that we are intact in the mind of God. We have forgotten that an idea, no matter how small, can never leave its source. We are, for the most part, oblivious to the fact that we exist beyond the body. So what this is asking of us is to contemplate if the fear of death was gone, which would be the fear of the death of the self, the disappearance, the void, where would that fear land on? It would have to go somewhere because of the inherent belief in separation. So if we didn't fear death, we would fear life, and rightly so, because we would be thinking, what did I do to get here? I had a dream recently where, actually I've had 2 dreams recently where the constraints of the dream, the environment of the dream were very convincing, but I had to remember that, no, I can transcend this. This is not real, this environment. And in one of the dreams, I convinced myself that I was in, quote unquote, the Matrix, and I was able to move through the floor. In another dream, I had gone into the water, entered into another realm, and thought to myself, okay, how do I get out of this? Because I had entered this reality, this realm, by swimming to it. But now that I was standing on a floor in an office, I can't swim out of it because I was now in the air. And I'm sharing this to say that this reality is so very convincing that if we were without the fear of death, we would have no choice but to fear this life, this reality, because our minds would say, how did I get here? What did I do to be trapped in this limited reality, in this limited experience? And so in the next paragraph, we are being reminded, but wait a second, you have had a glimpse of love. And so now you're choosing by showing up, by paying attention, by being willing, by using your small willingness. You have had a glimpse of what the truth is, of what love is. And so the appeal of death is lost as love's attraction stirs and calls to you. And so check in to see how legitimate or how rooted is your fear of death. I'm sure it varies depending on your personal life experiences. And so a question we could ask ourselves is, who would I be without the fear of death? Who would I be without the fear of life? Who would I be without the fear of God? And take a moment, use it as a meditation to explore what that would be like. Who would you be? Okay, so now let's go to the next paragraph and to see where we are. Paragraph 6. And now you stand in terror before what you swore never to look upon. Your eyes look down, remembering your promise to your friends, the loveliness of sin, the delicate appeal of guilt, the holy waxen image of death, and the fear of vengeance of the ego you swore in blood not to desert, all rise and bid you not to raise your eyes. For you realize that if you look on this and let the veil be lifted, they will be gone forever. All of your friends, your protectors, and your home will vanish. Nothing that you remember now will you remember. And I'm thinking that most of you who are taking the time to watch these videos and explore the Course in Miracles together are very excited to be free from that. All right, let's go back for paragraph 7. It seems to you the world will utterly abandon you if you but raise your eyes. Yet all that will occur is you will leave the world forever. This is the reestablishment of your will. Look upon it open-eyed, and you will never more believe that you're at the mercy of things beyond you, forces you cannot control, and thoughts that come to you against your will. It is your will to look on this. No mad desire, no trivial impulse to forget again, no stab of fear nor the cold sweat of seeming death can stand against your will. For what attracts you from beyond the veil is also deep within you, unseparated from it, and completely one. And so what attracts you from beyond the veil is also inside of you. And so when we have embarked on a quest for truth, to ask the questions, what am I? What is this? How did I get here? What made this? when we start asking these questions, there is this desire to know the truth, which deep down we know is the void. And inasmuch as there is the part that seeks the void, which is the absence of the ego and the absence of separation, there is the part that has constructed the small self that is terrified of that void. So we've got this conflict inside of us that you may recognize as I'm describing it, that you know that to be true for you. And so the deeper you go into a spiritual practice, the aspect, the archetype of the saboteur enters in to distract you from stillness, from presence, from paying attention, will hijack your mind from the peace, using judgment, using derision, using attack to justify the small self's existence, of which we know deep down is not eternal, it's temporary. Hence the terror, right? So amazing. Okay, we're going back to share the screen because we're continuing now with the subsection. So we're going back to Contents, Chapter 19, The Attainment of Peace. We're in Section D. We've just read the fourth obstacle, the fear of God. And so now we're going into the subsection, the lifting of the veil. Exciting. Okay. We'll continue with paragraph 8. Forget not that you came this far together, you and your brother, and it was surely not the ego that led you here. No obstacle to peace can be surmounted through its help. It does not open up its secrets and bid you look on them and go beyond them. It would not have you see its weakness and learn it has no power to keep you from the truth. The guide who brought you here remains with you, and when you raise your eyes, you will be ready to look on terror with no fear at all. But first, lift up your eyes and look on your brother in innocence born of complete forgiveness of his illusions and through the eyes of faith that sees them not. Beautiful. Let's keep going for paragraph 9. No one can look upon the fear of God unterrified unless he has accepted the atonement and learned illusions are not real. No one can stand before this obstacle alone, for he could not have reached this far unless his brother walked beside him. And no one would dare to look on it without complete forgiveness of his brother in his heart. Stand you here a while and tremble not. You will be ready. Let us join together in a holy instant here in this place, where the purpose, given in a holy instant, has led you. And let us join in faith that he who brought us here together will offer you the innocence you need, and that you will accept it for my love and his. I feel that. Do you feel that? I have full truth bumps moving through me, up the back of my head, down my arms. All right, let's continue. For paragraph 10, nor is it possible to look on this too soon. This is the place to which everyone must come when he is ready. Once he has found his brother, he is ready. Yet merely to reach the place is not enough. A journey without a purpose is still meaningless, and even when it is over, it seems to make no sense. How can you know that it is over unless you realize its purpose is accomplished? Here, with the journey's end before you, you see its purpose, and it is here you choose whether to look upon it or wander on, only return and make the choice again. So the question is, how ready are we? How ready is our small will to see and know the truth, to be willing to be essentially obliterated? Because It's an act of surrender where the little will gives itself up to the greater will of the divine, of the creator, to make our eternal nature, our soul essence, more important than the little limited I, me, my, mine level of consciousness. When that small, often grippy level of mind starts to undo, there is space in the mind to receive inspired direction. There is space in the body to take inspired action, and for this life to be lived through service and to be an example for the golden rule, to be the example, the manifestation of a miracle for not your sake, but for the sake of others. Let's keep going with the text. Paragraph 11. To look upon the fear of God does need some preparation. Only the sane can look on stark insanity and raving madness with pity and compassion, but not with fear. For only if they share in it does it seem fearful, and you do not share in it until you look upon your brother with perfect faith and love and tenderness. Before complete forgiveness, you still stand unforgiving. You are afraid of God because you fear your brother. Those you do not forgive, you fear, and no one reaches love with fear beside him. Okay, so the point of view that we're being asked to adopt here to humanity is the same point of view that one would adopt if they had just brought in a nice, cute, little, untrained puppy into the household. So the puppy enters into the household and he doesn't know his own mind. He doesn't know what he is. He doesn't know where he is. So he is testing out everything. And so you as the new puppy owner experience that as chaos, as the puppy chews the leg of the furniture, destroys your favorite pillow, eats your favorite pair of shoes, barks at the postman coming up the driveway doing his job. So while these behaviors from a certain point of view are bad and destructive and inappropriate, your love for the puppy remains intact. And if anything, if your mind is clear and sane and sensible, what you will do is make it your mission to help the puppy know himself so that he can be a helpful member of the household. But the most important thing that I want to convey through that analogy is your feeling state. So even as you're observing the puppy behaving badly, doing the wrong things, doing destructive things, behaving inappropriately, your love remains intact because you understand the whole context. You understand that he's brand new, that he doesn't know himself. He doesn't know his environment. He hasn't been trained. He hasn't been educated. But again, the main thing is your feeling state, that you don't lose your love and your affection for that puppy. And so this is what this is saying for us. Can we adopt that same point of view to our brothers and sisters? That's the perspective, because we have a greater perspective. That is the perspective that will save us. To adopt that perspective is how we share God's perspective, because we only ever see the puppy as innocent, in as much as what we're embarking on by joining in these lessons is to make it a priority to see our brothers and sisters' innocence. Okay, so let's go back to share the screen. Paragraph 12. This brother who stands beside you still seems to be a stranger. You do not know him, and your interpretation of him is very fearful, and you attack him still to keep what seems to be yourself unharmed. Yet in his hands is your salvation. You see his madness, which you hate because you share it, and all the pity and forgiveness that would heal it gives way to fear. Brother, you need forgiveness of your brother, for you will share in madness or in heaven together, and you and he will raise your eyes in faith together or not at all. Let's continue for paragraph 13. Beside you is the one who offers you the chalice of atonement, for the Holy Spirit is in him. Would you hold his sins against him or accept his gifts to you? Is this giver of salvation your friend or enemy? Choose which he is, remembering that you will receive of him according to your choice. He has in him the power to forgive your sin as you for him. Neither can give it to himself alone, and yet the Savior stands beside each one. Let him be what he is, and seek not to make of love an enemy. And so the puppy analogy still stands here. Because if the puppy behaves badly, we don't make the puppy wrong. We just acknowledge that, oh, that's a puppy. That's because he doesn't know himself. He hasn't been trained yet. So it's the same thing. So we have the choice moment to moment. Do we see love? Do we see innocence and room to be of service? Or do we just simply go to attack and derision? Secretly knowing that whatever it is that we're attacking, it's because we know it's inside of us too. The choice is choiceless, actually. But that said, in earlier chapters, we've also been told that it's not us who does it. We don't do it. That the holy instant is a bestowal. All that's required now is just a little willingness to see the truth. Let's go back to share the screen for paragraph 14. Behold your friend, the Christ who stands beside you. How holy and how beautiful he is. You thought he sinned because you cast the veil of sin upon him to hide his loveliness. Yet still he holds forgiveness out to you to share his holiness. This enemy, this stranger, still offers you salvation as his friend. The enemies of Christ, the worshippers of sin, know not whom they attack. I just want you to notice here that in this paragraph, the use of the capital letters. So the F in friend is a capital. Christ, obviously, as a proper name, is capitalized. And then the W in who is capitalized. And so the friend is Christ, is the Holy Spirit. All right, let's go back to share the screen for paragraph 15. This is your brother, crucified by sin and waiting for release from pain. Would you not offer him forgiveness when only he can offer it to you? For his redemption, he will give you yours, as surely as God created every living thing and loves it, and he will give it truly, for it will be both offered and received. There is no grace of heaven that you cannot offer to your brother and receive from your most holy friend. Let him withhold it not, for by receiving it, you offer it to him, and he will receive of you what you received of him. Redemption has been given you to give your brother and thus receive it. Whom you forgive is free, and what you give, you share. Forgive the sins your brother thinks he has committed, and all the guilt you think you see in him. Okay, so we are continuing to see our brothers and sisters as innocent as a puppy. To choose not to see your brothers and sisters as you think you see them, but to see them as they are, which is as innocent as you. Because if they knew how to do it differently, they would. But somehow they're playing their part exactly as they should. And the reason that they're playing their part in exactly the way they are is to remind us, to give us an opportunity to turn our faces to the face of God and to share his vision. So whether our brothers and sisters are showing up in our lives lovingly, kindly, generously, or the opposite, with a meanness, with a punishment, with a selfishness, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because our job is to see them as innocent as a puppy and then treat them accordingly. And when we treat them from that point of view in our minds, and actually it creates the conditions for change and for healing, because we only ever really know ourselves through the reflection that we see in each other, in each other's behaviors, how they treat us, and even in their eyes. Let's go back to share the screen, and now we are looking at paragraph 16. Here is the holy place of resurrection to which we come again, to which we will return until redemption is accomplished and received. Think who your brother is before you would condemn him, and offer thanks to God that he is holy and has been given the gifts of holiness for you. Join him in gladness and remove all trace of guilt from his disturbed and tortured mind. Help him to lift the heavy burden of sin you laid upon him, and he accepted as his own, and toss it lightly and with happy laughter away from him. Press it not like thorns against his brow, nor nail him to it, unredeemed and hopeless. Wow. I'm going to keep going for paragraph 17. Give faith to your brother, for faith and hope and mercy are yours to give. Into the hands that give, the gift is given. Look on your brother and see in him the gifts of God you would receive. It is almost Easter, the time of resurrection. Let us give redemption to each other and share in it, that we may rise as one in resurrection, not separate in death. Behold the gift of freedom that I give the Holy Spirit for you, and be you and your brother free together as you offer to the Holy Spirit this same gift. And giving it, receive it of him in return for what you gave. He leadeth you and me together that we might meet here in this holy place and make the same decision. Okay. I love this reminder. Think who your brother is before you would condemn him. Offer thanks to God that he is holy and has been given the gift of holiness for you. Help him to lift the heavy burden of sin you laid upon him, and he accepted as his own. Right? We do that to each other. We apply lovelessness on one another. Toss it lightly and with happy laughter away. Press it not. Press not the grievance, not the judgment, not the attack. Press it not like thorns against his brow, nor nail him to it. Ugh. And don't we go back and we nail them again and again as we share our grievances with others, as we make our complaints, as we write our busy emails? Can you see how there's no real effort needed to forgive, because forgiveness is simply an undoing of perception? And what we're being asked here is to make a choice. This is taking responsibility for how we see. All right, so let's continue with paragraph 18. Free your brother here as I freed you. Give him the selfsame gift, nor look upon him with condemnation of any kind. See him as guiltless as I look on you, and overlook the sin he thinks he sees within himself. Offer your brother freedom and complete release from sin here in the garden of seeming agony and death. So will we prepare together the way unto the resurrection of God's Son, and let him rise again to glad remembrance of his Father, who knows no sin, no death, but only life eternal. Paragraph 19. Together we will disappear into the presence beyond the veil, not to be lost, but found, not to be seen, but known. And knowing nothing in the plan of God has established for salvation will be left undone. This is the journey's purpose, without which is the journey meaningless. Here is the peace of God given to you eternally by him. Here is the rest and quiet that you seek, the reason for the journey from its beginning. Heaven is the gift you owe your brother, the debt of gratitude you offer to the Son of God in thanks for what he is and what his Father created him to be. We'll continue with paragraph 20. Think carefully how you would look upon the giver of the gift, for as you look on him, so will the gift itself appear to be. As he is seen as either the giver of guilt or of salvation, so will his offering be seen and so received. The crucified give pain because they are in pain, but the redeemed give joy because they have been healed of pain. Everyone gives as he receives, but he must choose what it will be that he receives, and he will recognize his choice by what he gives and what is given him. Nor is it given anything in hell or heaven to interfere with his decision. Just making a note here that heaven is with a capital H and hell is not. Let's keep going for paragraph 21, last one. You came this far because the journey was your choice, and no one undertakes to do what he believes is meaningless. What you had faith in still is faithful and watches over you in faith, so gentle yet so strong that it would lift you far beyond the veil and place the Son of God safely within the sure protection of his Father. Here is the only purpose that gives this world and the long journey through this world whatever meaning lies in them. Beyond this, they're meaningless. You and your brother stand together, still without conviction that you have a purpose. Yet it is given you to see this purpose in your holy friend and recognize it as your own. Our salvation can only ever be in one another, because the way that we see them can only be an effect of the way we see ourselves, which in itself can only be an effect of the way that we see our Father or the infinite Creator. So it is a choice. But right now, all that's required is a willingness to know the truth. That's it. Which is a relief. Okay, so we are going now to our lesson. We are going back to home, clicking on the workbook for students. We are typing in lesson 31, and I'll have the narrator read this for us.
Lesson 31. I am not the victim of the world I see. Today's idea is the introduction to your declaration of release. Again, the idea should be applied to both the world you see without and the world you see within. In applying the idea, we will use a form of practice which will be used more and more, with changes as indicated. Generally speaking, the form includes two aspects. One in which you apply the idea on a more sustained basis, and the other consisting of frequent applications of the idea throughout the day. 2 longer periods of practice with the idea for today are needed, 1 in the morning and 1 at night. 3 to 5 minutes for each of these are recommended. During that time, look about you slowly while repeating the idea 2 or 3 times. Then close your eyes and apply the same idea to your inner world. You will escape from both together, for the inner is the cause of the outer. As you survey your inner world, merely let whatever thoughts cross your mind come into your awareness, each to be considered for a moment, and then replaced by the next. Try not to establish any kind of hierarchy among them. Watch them come and go as dispassionately as possible. Do not dwell on any one in particular, but try to let the stream move on evenly and calmly, without any special investment on your part. As you sit and quietly watch your thoughts, repeat today's idea to yourself as often as you care to, but with no sense of hurry. In addition, repeat the idea for today as often as possible during the day. Remind yourself that you are making a declaration of independence in the name of your own freedom. And in your freedom lies the freedom of the world. The idea for today is also a particularly useful one to use as a response to any form of temptation that may arise. It is a declaration that you will not yield to it and put yourself in bondage.
Okay, so for our practice together, we will set a timer for 3 minutes, but the suggested practice periods for today is an applied practice in the morning and then in the evening, and then practicing the idea throughout the day as needed. In the applied practice that we'll do together, remember that for the first minute, let your gaze move around the room and in an unhurried way, reminding yourself the idea for today's lesson, which is, I am not a victim of the world I see. And then after a minute, close your eyes and then just start to look at your inner terrain, anywhere that your mind goes, and unhurriedly apply the idea to whatever arises inside of your own mind. I am not a victim of the world I see. All right, so as usual, as I prepare to get our timer, start to bring your attention away from the fullness of what has come before. Feel what it is to be here, supported by the floor, supported by the furniture if you happen to be sitting down. Notice what it is to experience the breath as it is. Feel what it feels like to inhabit this body as it is. Feel what it is to look out into the world through your eyes. All right, so we are going to do 3 minutes together. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again so that you can see the language for today's lesson. I am not the victim of the world I see. Remember, the point of this is because the world we see is an effect of our minds. Okay, so starting the practice period with eyes open, just for 1 minute, gazing around the room, and then when it feels appropriate, let your eyelids rest over your eyes and start exploring your inner terrain, your inner consciousness domain. All right, I'm starting the timer now. So when you're ready, let your eyelids rest now over your eyes and just start to observe thoughts as they're arising, repeating to yourself, I am not the victim of the world I see. Okay. And so that is the timer. How was that for you? So again, the practice period for today is once in the morning, once in the evening, 3 to 5 minutes. We just practiced for 3 minutes, as long as 5 minutes, and then bringing the idea up throughout the day and applying it as needed, and even applying this idea going forward with anything that happens to arise, especially when something that arises where you feel threatened or you feel frustrated or upset or disappointed or whatever unpleasant feeling arises. All right, so I'm going to go back to share the screen again for our principle of miracles. So we go back to home, we go back to the text, chapter 1, the meaning of miracles, principles of miracles. And now we are at principle number 49. And what I often say is to take a screenshot of the principle to come back and refer to it at other times to contemplate it as an added little meditation. All right, number 49. The miracle makes no distinction among degrees of misperception. It is a device for perception correction, effective quite apart from either the degree or the direction of the error. This is its true indiscriminateness. Okay, so there are no degrees in error of our thinking. We either have correct thought, sane perception. We either share God's perception or we don't. We're either choosing love or we're choosing fear. We're either choosing compassion or we're choosing grievance. All right, wonderful. So thank you again for joining with me today to practice the lesson, to read through the text, to contemplate our true nature and true purpose, to be of service, to love, and to be instruments of peace. And again, as always, I would like to invite you to the next mindfulness-based meditation class. The registration link is on the website www.elilacenter.org. The class is on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. And also I teach a natural healing self-help class where we use Reiki, Jinshin Jutsu to lay our hands to bring balance and harmony at the subtle aspect of our nature. Both classes are an opportunity to be still and create the conditions for miracles. The natural healing self-help class is on the fourth Monday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. The registration link is on the website as well. Both classes are offered both in person when I'm not traveling and via Zoom. So have a wonderful day. Please feel free to share your observations, your resistance, your experiences in the comments. I would love to hear how this exploration is going for you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.